to our ever dynamic and gorgeous Professor Ma'am Nerissa M. Beatriz. To you, my dear classmates, good morning. I am Laris Moralio, a private school teacher at Las Enlaces Learning Center Incorporated. Today, I was assigned to report about understanding individual, self-understanding, and guidance. Let's first discuss about understanding individual. There are millions of stars in the sky, but every star is different. Similarly, there are millions of people in the universe, but each person is different from the multiple perspective. Just like understanding the individual. So let's come now to what do we mean by individual behavior. So it means some concrete actions by a person. For instance, how a teacher behaves in the class reflects his behavior. And also, the individual behavior can be defined as a mix of responses to external and internal stimuli. It is the way a person reacts in different situations and the way someone expresses different emotions. So that is what we mean by individual behavior. So it is the way how we react, how the people react in that situation or in this situation or in different situation that he or she may encounter. And of course, it's like also expressing your feelings or expressing your different emotions, like how you express your happiness, how you express the anger, how you express the love to each and everyone. So that is what we mean by individual behavior. We have the individual behavior framework. So on the basis of these elements, psychologist Kurt Lewin stated the field theory and outlined the behavior framework. This psychological theory studies the patterns of interaction between an individual and the environment. The theory is expressed using the formula. So this is the formula. B is equals to F, P, and E. So wherein B is for behavior, F is for behavior function, P is for the person, and letter E is for the environment around the person. It looks like the individual behavior framework. So we have there the environment, the individual, the behaviors, and of course the outcomes of it. And of course, we have the causes of individual behavior. So we have two. So these are the inherited characteristics, and the second one is the learned characteristics. So let's discuss first about inherited characteristics. So in the features individuals acquire from their parents or from our forefathers are the inherited characteristics. In other words, the gifted features of an individual possesses by birth is considered as inherited characteristics. So such the color of person's eye, religion, race of a person, shape of the nose, or shape of earlobe. So these are the examples of inherited characteristics. So for example, we get our eyes from our mother, we get our mouth or the shape of our lips to our father. Ayan. So that is the inherited characteristic. And this causes the individual behavior. The next one, characteristics. Nobody learns everything by birth. First, our school is our home. Then, our society, followed by our educational institutions. the characteristics of an individual acquires by observing, practicing, and learning from others, and the surroundings is known as learned characteristics. So, ika nga po, so, we cannot learn everything starting from kung saan tayo pinanganak. Ayan. So, hindi agad natin ito matututunan. So, it's a process. It's a process on how are we going to learn some things. So, the first thing that we acquired learning is from our home. Yan. So, dyan po tayo natututo muna bago sa eskwelahan. So, dyan tayo natututong magsalita, dyan tayo matututong kumain, kung paano kumain, dyan tayo matututong maglinis, opo, dyan sa bahay natin. So, our first teacher is our parents. Yan, opo. And this to be followed na lang yung school institution, yung mga educational institutions, and that's in learned characteristics. These features in learned characteristics. So we have the perception, so result of different senses like feeling, hearing, or etc. So perception is an outcome of an object. So it is the viewpoint which one interprets a situation. Ayan. So this is how we perceive, or how are we going to perceive others. For example, for instance, there are two ladies. The one is wearing nice dress or beautiful dress, and the other one is wearing a simple cloth. Ayan. And we perceive that the one that is wearing the nice dress or the beautiful dress is rich, belongs to the rich class, and the one who is wearing the simple dress belong to the middle class. So, but they have the same. Ayan. So, the same lang naman po sila. Okay? So, naiiba lang naman sila on the way they dress. So, that is the perception. And that belongs to the learned characteristics. So, matututunan natin kung paano tayo mag-perceive ng others. Next, the values. So, in the values, influences perception of a situation, decision-making process. So, values are the foundation for behavioral difference among individuals, and they help in understanding the attributes and motivation. So, ika nga po, values are caught, not taught. So, kumbaga, nakukuha natin ito. So, hindi ito tinuturo sa atin. So, nakukuha lang ito, whether sa ating surrounding, whether sa nakikita natin, on what we see, on what we hear, on what we feel. So, that's value. So, matututunan nito by what we see, or kung ano yung nakukot natin. But hindi ito tinuturo. Opo. So, that's all about the values. Next is personality. So, personality patterns of thinking, feeling, understanding, and behaving. So, this naman in personality, this is how we behave. How are we going to understand others? What is the way of our thinking? What do we feel? Ayan. So, we can learn that. That's learned characteristics, our personality. Matututunan natin kung paano tayo mag-behave sa ganitong okasyon, on how we behave in the school, on how are we going to behave in the beach. So there are many ways on how to behave. So we can learn that through learning the characteristic in personality. Next is the attitude. So we have the positive or the negative attitude, like expressing one's thought. Ayan. So in here, in the attitude, so nalelearn natin kung paano nga ba yung attitude natin. So sometimes we are positive thinker and sometimes we are negative thinker. So we need to parang iwasan natin yung negative. So, but we're always be positive. Always positive. So those are the features under the learned characteristics. So, ito yung pwede nating matutunan, on how we on how we're going to perceive the values, our personality, and our attitude. So, we need to know this one and how are we going to behave in one situation. So, kailangan po nating matutunan. So, this is not hindi ito inherited. Just like the first cause of individual behavior, the inheritance. So, this is like this one. But, this is the learned characteristics. So, kailangan nating matutunan itong mga characteristics na ito. So let's come now on how to understand people. So I research also about the tips on how to understand people. So it can help us to understand the people around us, our students, of course. Yan. So it can help us. So there's 10 ways on how to start understanding others. Okay, the first one is number 1, expect it to take time and energy. Ayan, so we need to take time and energy. So kumbaga hindi lahat nangyayari ng madalian. So hindi to parang karera na mabilis. So we need to take time. So, kailangan natin bigyan ng oras, ng maraming energy on how to understand others, on how to understand people. So, kailangan natin ng maraming oras. So, and stop any quick judgments and commit to being more open and available to the experience of getting to know someone. Then, triple the time you think it might. So, that's the number 1 tips on how to understand people. Next, number 2, drop the assumption. So, instead of being sure you won't like someone or they won't like you, or making assumptions you won't understand them based on small things. So, the way we dress, the way we speak, and who they are friends with. So, try to imagine that each person is a blank slate you know nothing about until you talk to them and spend time to them. So, this is true. So, most of us, sanay na sanay tayo ng ganito. So, lagi tayong nag-a-assume na, oh, this person is like this one. So, even though na kahit hindi pa natin sila nakakausap or hindi pa natin sila nakikilala, parang nada-judge na natin sila. So, we need to drop this one. We need to drop this one. So, we need to talk to them. We need to spend more time so that we can understand them really. And you're going to drop your assumptions about that person. And for instance, about our students. Ayan, so, wag natin i-judge agad yung student natin. So, we need to spend time. Ayan, spend time for our students. So, kailangan na muna natin malaman kung ano nga ba yung pinanggagalingan niya. Okay po? So, that's the number 2 tips. And number 3, be fully present. So, this is also important. So, kailangan lagi tayong present. So, wag tayong pa tulog-tulog or patunga-tunganga, ika nga po. So, kailangan natin, we're always aware. We're always present. Ayan. So, lagi tayong gising. Lagi tayong may maraming energy to listen. Ayan. So, we need to listen on the others. We need to listen to our students, especially. Ayan. So, if our student has a problem and nag-approach yung student. So listen to them. Listen to them and give some advice as a teacher. So that's the number 3. Number 4 is use the power of perspective. Yan. So, we have the unique ways to see things. So, although it's easy to assume others can understand your view. So, it's really easy na mag-assume tayo. So, kahit hindi naman. So, hindi naman masamang mag-assume, but we need to be sure. Yan. So, we need to be sure about that thing that you need to understand. So, don't assume agad-agad. Opo? So, because everyone sees things from their different perspective. So, iba naman yung nakikita ko, iba naman yung nakikita ninyo. So, that's how it works. Okay? So, to understand people more, use the power of perspective. Number 5, read body language. This is very important. Opo. So sometimes dito sa ating society, hindi lahat ng sinasabi ng tao, hindi lahat ng sinasabi natin ay totoo. So sometimes parang ipinapakita na lang ito ng ating mga katawan. So, to more understand the people, we need to know how to read body language. Ayan, opo. Kasi iba naman yung sinasabi niya sa sinasabi ng kanyang katawan. So, for instance, someone asks you, are you okay? Are you good? And you answer, you're fine. But your body doesn't say so that you're fine. Your eyes doesn't say so that you're fine. So, this is really important on how to understand people, this body language. Ayan, opo. So, for example, they ask you, are you tired? And you answered, no, I'm not. But your body seems so tired. Okay? So, kailangan nating maintindihan yung iba by using this body language. Okay po? To number 6, listen fully instead of halfway. So, this is very important. So, kung baga, wag nating i-stop yung nag-share sa atin. So, let's listen hanggang matapos yung story niya. So, wag tayong mag-i-interrupt. Kasi, it's not good to interrupt others while they are talking. So, let's listen. So, until they finish their story, so that's the time we can talk. Okay po? So, that is one thing on how to understand people. So, just like in our students. So, pagdating sa ating mga students, so we need to listen to them also. For them to listen to us, of course, we need to listen to them also. So, and vice versa. That's number 6. Number 7, practice reflecting back. Ayan. So, this is important also. We need to reflect back. So, kung ano nga ba yung nagawa natin last few days, last few months, kailangan natin tong reflect back para matama siguro natin. Ayan. Opo. So, that is practice reflecting back. Ayan. And number 8, ask really good questions. This is important. So, try to start questions with how or what over why. Ayan. So, let's start daw po the questions how and what, but not why. Ayan. So, this is important. Opo. So, how are you? Ayan. So, what is your day today? Is it good? Ayan. So, we're going to start that question in how and what, but not why. Ayan. So, pag why na kasi sobrang lalim na niyan. Opo, why? Parang pag tinanong na tayo ng why, parang, oh. So, we need to ask really good questions. So, para hindi rin tayo masamain ng iba. And, of course, para good rin yung impressions nila sa atin. And number 9, watch out for projection. Ayan. So psychologically, projection is when we unconsciously attribute the way we ourselves are thinking and feeling to others, thereby avoiding facing up to our own unwanted emotions or thoughts. Ayan, opo. So, watch out for our projection kasi kung ano yung nakikita ng iba, so yun rin ang iisipin nila na ganun tayo. So, just like in the classroom setting, kung ano yung nakikita ng mga students sa inyo, ganun rin ang gagayahin nila. So, ganun rin yung paniniwalaan nila na tama pala yun. So, we need to watch out. Okay po? And the last tip is learn to understand yourself better. Of course, how can we understand others if we don't understand ourselves? So, this is the important thing that we need to do. Opo, para mas lalo nating maintindihan yung iba. Kailangan na muna nating intindihin yung sarili natin bago natin maintindihan yung iba. So, those are the tips on how to understand people. So, I hope you get something or you learn something about the tips. And I hope you can use it in your everyday lives also. Let's come now to the self-understanding. What do we mean by self-understanding? It is the awareness of and ability to understand one's own actions. And another meaning, it is the key to the successful resolution of any emotional problem. This self is not something that one finds. It is something that one creates. One should understand himself truly for a realistic, satisfactory, and truly optimistic life. And that's self-understanding. So it is being aware about your feelings. It is being aware of how are you going to behave. It is being aware about the things about yourself. And of course, it's how are we going to understand our own action. So, self-understanding is not, kumbaga, agad-agad nating ma-understand yung sarili natin. But it is a step-by-step. It has a process. So, pakunti-kunti, so nalalaman natin and mas lalo nating naiintindihan yung sarili natin. And, this is the key. So, this is the key for us to be successful. So if we truly understand ourselves, we can live a successful life and optimistic life as always. That's self-understanding. Why self-understanding? So there are benefits of self-understanding. The first one is knowing exactly what is bothering you instead of feeling bad without knowing why. This, in turn, will allow you to take the first step towards happiness. Ayan. So, walang ibang taong makakaalam kung ano yung nagbabother sa'yo. But only yourself. So, dapat we know what's bothering us. We know what are we feeling. And, of course, dapat we should understand why are we bothered by this thing or why are we feeling this way. And of course, it will lead us to the happiness if we know and we truly understand ourselves. The next one is not feeling lost because you will know exactly where you fit in life, whether it's a career or a relationship. So, dapat hindi tayo nawawala. So, kasi tayo lang naman po ang nakakakilala sa sarili natin. So, if we feel lost, we can find ourselves again and again. Because at the first place, tayo lang din ang makaka-resolve or makakahanap sa ating sarili. And of course, tayo lang din ang makakahanap kung saan ba tayo nararapat. So, where do we fit in life? Kung ano ba yung gusto nating career sa buhay? Paano nga ba natin to i-handle? So, paano tayo sa relationship with our family, friends? Okay, so that's one of the benefits of self-understanding. And the next one, a solid understanding of others. The more you understand yourself, the more will you understand others. So this is true. How can we understand others if we don't understand ourselves? So this is very self-explanatory. So those are the benefits of self-understanding. Understanding self can be focused mainly as the physical self. So who we are physically is really important to many people. And being physically fit and strong is a big part of how we define ourselves. So this is, ito yung panlabas. Yung panlabas natin, yung nakikita ng tao. So whether we are fat, we are small, we are tall, and we are fit enough. So that's the physical self. Next is the social self. Yeah. So here in the social self is how are we going to socialize with others? How are we going to join with the other people. So, paano nga ba tayo makikisalamuha? Paano tayo makikisalamuha sa mga taong nakakasama natin? And that's the social self. Next is the competent self. So, we have the confidence to buy or to provide our basic needs. So, that's the competent self. So, kaya nating mabili kung ano ba yung mga pangangailangan natin sa buhay because we're competent enough. Next, number 4 is the inner self. So, in the inner self naman is the feelings. Or thoughts that we have. And it's very deep. It's very deep. Okay? And it's inside us. So, ito yung hindi natin na ilalabas. So, ito yung nasa pinaka-ilalim. Yan. So, that's really deep. So, that's the inner self. So, those are the things that we need to understand in understanding ourselves. Have the 3 important aspects of self. So number 1 is the self-concept. So this is how we picture our concepts of ourselves. Number 2 is the self-esteem. This is the feeling we have about ourselves. And number 3 is the self-ideal. So the way we would like to be. So those are the 3 important aspects of self. So let's discuss it one by one. Let's come now first to the self-concept. So self-concept, according to Bloomster, it's the individual's belief about himself or herself, including the person's attributes and who and what the self is. So this is the self-concept. Ito raw po yung pinapaniwalaan natin tungkol sa sarili natin. So this is how we believe that we're like this one. So kaya natin we're always believing on ourselves that we can do this. That's self-concept according to Bloomster. According to Lewis, self-concept is an important term for both social psychology and humanism. So he suggests that development of a concept of self has 2 aspects. So these are the existential self and the categorical self. So the existential self, this is the most basic part of the self scheme or self-concept. The sense of being separate and distinct from others, and the awareness of the constancy of the self. So the child realizes that they exist as a separate entity from others and that they continue to exist over time and space. So that's the existential self. And we have also the categorical self, according to Lewis. So, having realized that he or she exists as a separate experiencing being, and the child next becomes aware that he or she is also an object in the world. So, parang naiisip na that she's not belong. Parang isip na she's separate. Ay, ano ba ako? Yung parang ganyan. Opo. So, that's the categorical self. But, on the basis, opo, nalalaman na rin niya na, and she will be aware that she or he is also an object in the world. So, that's the two aspects of self-concept according to Lewis. So let's come now to the self-esteem. So self-esteem refers to the extent to which we like, accept, or approve ourselves. So, or how much we value ourselves. So another one, self-esteem always involves a degree of evaluation, and we may have either a positive or a negative view of ourselves. So the self-esteem is how much we value ourselves, how much we approve ourselves. So that's the self-esteem. In self-esteem, we have the high self-esteem and of course the negative self-esteem. So in the high self-esteem, so we have the positive view of ourselves. So this tends to lead to confidence in our own ability. So if we have high self-esteem, so we are very confident. So we are very confident to face other people. We are very confident about our abilities that we can do this one. So that's high self-esteem. So next is self-acceptance. So if we have high self-esteem, we can accept ourselves. Opo, so we can accept even though we have flaws. Yan. So if we have high self-esteem, we can accept. Next is not worrying about what others think. Yan. So, wala tayong pakialam kung ano yung iniisip ng ibang tao. So, if there, kumbaga, so this is high self-esteem. So, hindi natin iniisip kung ano yung sasabihin sa atin ng tao. Kasi wala tayong pakialam sa kanila. So, kung ano man yung iniisip nila, bahala na sila doon. So, we're not worrying because we have high self-esteem. And next, of course, is the optimism. So we're always optimistic about the things that around us. So kung sa lahat ng bagay, lagi tayong think positive lang always. So that's high self-esteem. Let's come now to the self-esteem. So if we have high, of course, we have low self-esteem. So this one naman have negative view of ourselves. So this tends to lead to lack of confidence. So this is the opposite of high self-esteem. So if you have a high confidence in the high self-esteem, so here in low self-esteem, so you lack of confidence. Parang lagi kang nakayuko, laging nahihiya. So, di ba, some of our students are like this one. So, they're always in the corner. So, parang they need to, so kailangan natin tong baguhin. So, as a teacher, we need to help them to gain or to build their self-confidence. And next one, want to be or look like someone else. So, if we have low self-esteem, so parang gusto natin na ay, gusto kong maging katulad niya. We don't have self-confident na ito tayo. So, hindi natin kailangan na manggaya ng iba. So, para mapansin tayo, para mahalin tayo. So, that's belong to the low self-esteem. Next is always worrying what others might think. So, laging nag-worry kung ano yung sasabihin ng ibang tao. Na ganito, ganyan. So, parang very cautious. Very cautious siya na kung anong sasabihin ng ibang tao. Kung may sasabihin siya, may sasabihin yung ibang tao tungkol sa kanya. So, parang nababother siya doon because he or she has low self-esteem. And of course, pessimism. So, this is not good. Yung parang lagi kang pessimist. You always think negatively. So, because you have low self-esteem. So, kailangan natin itong ma-convert into high self-esteem. So, lalo na sa ating mga students kasi we have students that has low self-esteem. So, as a teacher, we should help them. We should help them to have high self-esteem. Even though self-esteem might fluctuate, there are times when we continue to believe good things about ourselves. Even when evidence to the contrary exists, this is known as perseverance effect. Ayan. So, when we continue to believe that we do good things, even though na parang mayroon ng evidence that's wrong, na parang mali yung ginawa natin. So, that's what we call the perseverance effect. Let's come now to the third aspect of self-understanding. This is the ideal self. So, what you'd like to be. So, kung ano nga ba yung gusto natin. Opo. So, if there is a mismatch between how you see yourself, so example, your self-image, and what you'd like to be, your ideal self, then this is likely to affect how much you value yourself. A person's ideal self may not be consistent with what actually happens in life and experiences of the person. Hence, a difference may exist between a person's ideal self and actual experience. So, this is called incongruence. So, hindi lahat ng gusto natin ay mangyayari. Opo, so that's incongruence. So, hindi yung lahat ng ini-expect natin or what we believe, hindi yun lahat mangyayari. So, they are different from the actual and doon sa ideal natin. So, that's the ideal self. So, according to Michael Argyle, 2008, says there are four major factors which influence its development. So, the way in which others, particularly significant others, react to us. Ayan. So, this has something to do with our ideal self. So, ito po yung mga nakaka-apekto. So, kung the first one is the way in which others react to us. Opo. So, kung paano yung ibang tao nagre-react about sa atin. So, next is how we think we compare to others. Ayan. So, sometimes we tend to compare ourselves to others. So, sometimes hindi natin yun maiiwasan. So, lalo na sa ating mga students na they compare their selves to the other students. So, that can affect or that can influence. Next is our social roles. Yan. So, yung mga roles natin in life, the extent to which we identify with other people. So, those are the factors which influence its development according to Michael Argyle. So, I also researched how are we going to understand ourselves. So, these are tips. Ayan. So, nag-research rin ako ng mga tips on how are we going to understand ourselves because we cannot understand others if we don't understand ourselves. So, we need this one. Number one is get an objective assessment. So, this is the number one tip. So, we can get an assessment to the other people. So, kung ano nga ba yung personality natin. So we can get personality test and how we interact with people, career test, and learning styles, and many more. So we can get some objective assessment to the others, from the others, para alam natin kung ano nga ba yung pwede pa natin i-improve about ourselves. Number two is character writing exercises. Okay, so we can try these following questions to get an idea of what this is like. So, for example, how would you describe yourself in one sentence? Yan. What is your purpose in your life story? What is the most important thing that has ever happened to you, and many more. So we can write about ourselves. So we can jot down. So we can answer na how can we describe ourselves? So we can describe ourselves as strong woman. Ayan. Okay, so that's character writing exercises to fully understand ourselves. Next is number 3, evaluate your strength and weaknesses. So you can come to a better understanding of who we are and what is most important to you by thinking about your strengths and weaknesses. Ayan. So if we know our strengths and weaknesses, we can be able to understand ourselves more and much better. Number 4, examine your priorities. So, yan, this is also very important in self-understanding. So, we need to have priorities in our life. So, what do we think is the most important thing in our life, and in your day-to-day interactions can tell you about ourselves. So, we can think about our priorities. So for example, so we as the teacher, so who are our priorities? Of course, our students is our priorities. If we are in the school, of course, but if we are in our house, so iba naman yung priorities natin. So dapat we should have and we should examine our priorities to understand ourselves. And next, number 5 is look at how you've changed. So, tingnan natin kung may pinagbago ba tayo, kung malaki ba yung pinagbago natin. So, kailangan rin natin itong i-assess kung maganda ba yung pinagbago natin or hindi masyadong maganda yung pinagbago natin. Or hindi man lang ba tayo nagbago. So, that's number 5. Number 6 is check yourself when you experience strong emotions. So, ito po, so diba, sometimes if we're angry, so pag sobrang galit tayo, so parang nakakasalita tayo or nakakapagsalita tayo ng mga masakit na words. Yan. Opo. So, we can check it. Opo. So, para ma-control natin yung strong feelings natin or yung strong emotions natin. Okay po? So, lalo na pag sobrang nagagalit na tayo sa ating student kasi sobrang kukulit at hindi nakikinig. So, even though na sobrang kukulit at hindi sila nakikinig, ayan. So, let's control our emotions. Opo. Next is number 7, watch out for repression and transference. Ayan. So, repression is when you don't want to think about something, so you help yourself to forget it even happened. So, ito pala yung repression. So, ayaw mo itong isipin, parang gusto mo na lang kalimutan at parang gusto mo na lang ibaon sa iyong isip na hindi ito nangyari. That's repression. And transference is when you emotionally react to one thing, but what you're really reacting to is something else. So that's transference. So you react to that one thing, but basically you're reacting to something else. So that's transference rather. And the number 8 is notice how and when you talk about yourself. So, kailan ba natin sasabihin yung tungkol sa ating sarili? So, if we have a conversation about other people, ayan, so, kung nagmi-make ba tayo ng jokes, pagkausap tayo ng iba, kung so much serious ba tayo, yung parang hindi naman lang tayo ngumingiti. Ayan, so kailangan din natin alam natin kung paano tayo makipag-usap sa iba. Kasi baka minsan nakaka-offend na tayo, or minsan hindi natin na alam na below the belt na pala yung sinasabi natin. So we need to notice and be aware. Okay po? Next, number 9 is look at how and why you interact with others. So tingnan natin kung paano tayo makibagay sa iba, or paano tayo makisalamuha sa iba. Opo? So, and kung paano ba tayo magha-handle, or paano natin i-handle yung mga bagay if things go rough. Okay po. Next, number 10 is write your biography. So, this is one thing that we need to do also. So, we need to write our biography so that we can understand fully ourselves. So, because no one knows about ourselves, but only ourselves, not other people. Next, number 11, look at the way you react in tough or new situations. So, this is how we react. So, kung sobrang OA na ba tayo? Ayan. Sobrang wala man lang tayong pakialam. Ayan. So, that's number 11. Number 12 is examine your influences. Ayan. So, the things that have an influence on how you think and how you see the world can say a lot about you. Whether you actually confirm to what they teach or not. In seeing where your influences have shaped your behavior, you can better understand the root of behaviors you want. So, we need to examine kung ano nga ba yung nakaka-influence sa atin. So, for example na lang, di ba, yung social media. So, pag may nakita tayong doon sa social media, minsan ginagaya na natin, this is how we behave. So, parang na-adapt na natin. So, we need to examine kung tama ba yung ganun na behavior natin. Okay po. Number 13, opening yourself to reflection. So, this is very self-explanatory. Ayan. So, kailangan din natin na mag-reflect about ourselves. Okay po. So, kailangan din natin na makinig, or kailangan din natin parang kausapin yung sarili natin na kung ano nga ba yung gusto natin. So, that's the opening yourself to reflections. Number 14, let go of your defensiveness. Ayan. So, tayo po ay minsan, we're so defensive. So, kahit hindi naman tayo, parang, ay, hindi naman ako. Parang gano'n. So, we're so much defensive. So, kailangan nating i-let go itong defensiveness na ito. Next, number 15, be honest with yourself. Ayan. So, sino pa bang magiging honest sa inyo, kundi ang sarili lang natin? Apo. So, we need to be honest. Okay? Number 16, listen to what others say to and about you. So, this is very important. So, kung may sinasabi sa atin yung ibang tao, so, wag natin masyadong masamain. So, malay mo nagsasuggest lang sila, or much better, yun yung mas makakabuti sa atin. So, we need to listen also. Yan. So, mga advices ng iba kung ano nga ba yung gagawin natin, or kung tama ba yung ginagawa talaga natin. Next, number 17, give advice. Ayan. So, to fully understand ourselves, kailangan din natin mag-give advice to the others. Ayan. So, malalaman natin, magaling pala akong mag-advise sa ganitong bagay. Ayan. So, that's number 17. And the last one tip is take time and experience life. So, this is very important. So, we have a lot of time. So, we need to experience life to fully understand ourselves. So, we need to explore. We need to go out of our shell. Ayan. We need to go out of our box. Ayan. So, wag tayong mahiya. Ayan. So, we need to experience. So, to fully understand ourselves. So those are the tips that I can share. Yan. Opo, how about how to understand self? So I hope you get something about that. Let's come now to guidance. What do we mean by guidance? It means to direct, to point out, to show the path. It is the assistance or help rendered by a more experienced person to a less experienced person to solve certain major problems of the individual, educational, vocational, personal, or etc. Another meaning, it is a concept as well as a process. As a concept, guidance is concerned with the optimal development of the individual. As a process, guidance helps the individual in self-understanding or understanding one's strengths, limitations, and other resources. And in self-direction, ability to solve problems, make choices, and decision on one's own. So, guidance, this is a help. This is a help that to those person that have major problems. So whether in in family problems, in educational problems, in personal problems. So we need this. So kailangan natin ng guidance. So even though kahit bata pa tayo, so we need guidance from our parents so that we will know the right path or the right thing to do if there's someone who guides us. So that's guidance. And this is a process. So ito po ay mahaba ang proseso on how are we going to solve the problem that we have through the guidance. Let's come now to the guidance in education. So the aim of education is to achieve the fullest possible realization of possibilities inherent in the individual. Education fosters all aspects of an individual's personality, and guidance is an integral part of education and helps in achieving the goals of education. So, in education, guidance is very important. So, lalong-lalo na sa ating mga estudyante. So, hindi pa nila masyadong alam kung ano ba yung ginagawa nila. And they need guidance from their teachers, from the school head, and of course, from the guidance counselor itself. So, in education, guidance is very important. We have also the principles of guidance. Ayan. So, this is the formed basis of the needs of guidance. So the first one is the principle of all-round development. So guidance must take into account the all-round development of the person. So furthermore, guidance must ensure this desirable adjustment in any specific area of the individual's personality. So, for all-round development, sa kabuuang development. So, this is the first principle of the guidance. Next one is the principle of human uniqueness. So, no individuals are alike. So, hindi alak. Tayong mga tao ay magkakaiba. So, magkakaiba tayo ng ugali, so, ng pag-iisip, so kung paano tayo makisalamuha sa iba, our physical self, our emotional development, so magkakaiba tayo. And on that basis, so dapat yung guidance is dapat angkop or suitable doon sa specific need ng isang tao. So that's principle of human uniqueness. Next is principle of holistic development. So this principle states that guidance must take place in the context of total personality development. So moreover, a child grows as a whole. Also, if one aspect of personality is in focus, then the other areas of development must be kept in mind. Okay po, so that's the principle of holistic development. Let's come now to principle of cooperation. So, the person cannot be forced para mag-take ng guidance po. So, kailangan din it needs cooperation to one and another. So that's principle of cooperation. Next is principle of continuity. So sabi ko nga kanina, it's a process. Guidance is a process. So we need to have a continuity. So dapat patuloy pa rin nito para hindi mag-stop yung pag-guide natin doon sa person na yon. Next is principle of extension. So, there should not be a limitation of the guidance to the few individuals. So, dapat there's no limitation. So, walang hangganan. So, that's principle of extension. Next is principle of adjustment. So, dapat the guidance is also adjustable. So we have this principle of adjustment. So those are the different principles of guidance. Let's come now to the need and importance of guidance. So these are the needs and the importance. Marami, opo. So the first one is the self-understanding and self-direction. Ayan. So, if we need and if gusto talaga natin to know better about ourselves, so we need guidance. And next is the optimum development of individuals. So, yan. So, the yung development natin as an individual. So, kailangan rin ito ng guidance. Next is solving different problem of the individual. Ayan. So, if we cannot solve that problem, so we need guidance to the other people. Next, academic growth and development. Ayan. So, to become emotionally strong, to become a better person. Ayan. So, we need guidance from other people or from the experts. Next, vocational maturity, vocal choices, and vocational adjustments. So, this is important also. Next is social personal adjustment. So, for our adjustments, kung ano nga ba yung mga things that we need to adjust in that specific area. So, we need guidance also. Next, to have better family life. Ayan, so if we have or if we like to have a better family life, so we need guidance. Next, good citizenship. So kailangan ito. So we need to have a good citizenship. So we need guidance. And for conservation and proper utilization of human resources. So ito, kailangan natin ito kasi some of the people, yung pinapabayaan yung mga natural resources natin, yung mga human resources natin. So, to avoid this one, to avoid nasayangin, ayan. So, we need to have a guidance also. And, of course, for the national development. So, those are the needs and importance of guidance. We have also implications of areas of guidance in global context. So the following are some of the important areas of guidance. So we have here also the important areas of guidance. So we have the first one is the personal. Ayan. So our students may encounter different problems. So whether it's personal, problems in the family, friends, and the teachers, and etc. So, the students need guidance about this problem. So, that's the personal. Next is the educational guidance. In educational guidance, it is related to every aspect of education. Colleges, the curriculum, the methods of instruction, other curricular activities, discipline, and etc. So here in educational guidance, it is not only about our students, but also in our curriculum. So yung curriculum na i-use natin, kailangan rin yun ng guidance. Kailangan yun ng guidance sa expert, of course. Po yung methods of instruction. So, kailangan rin yun ng guidance. So, what are the methods that we need to do pag ganito? So, kailangan rin yun ng guidance. And other things. So, educational guidance is the assistance given to the individual to understand his or her potentialities. That's yan. So, to able to know the abilities that we have or the students that they have a clear-cut idea of the different educational opportunities and their requirements, to make wise choices as regards to school, colleges, the course, curricular, and extracurricular. Ayan. So, dapat we need to make wise choices. So, we need guidance para makapag-think tayo kung ano nga ba yung maganda para sa atin. So, that's for educational guidance. Next is vocational guidance. Here in vocational guidance, this is the process of assisting the individual to choose an occupation, prepare for it, enter upon it, and progress in it. Ayan. So, this is naman on making choice about the occupation that we want to do, on the things that we need to prepare, the progress that we need to have. So, that's the vocational guidance. So, for example, kailangan ito nung yung mga person na nahihirapan kung ano nga ba yung gusto nilang trabaho. That's vocational guidance. Next is vocational guidance. It helps the child to judiciously utilize the leisure time. So, the other co-curricular activities play an important role in all-round development of the child. So, dito naman po sa vocational guidance, so, pinag-guide dito on how to utilize their leisure time. So, merong time para sa magsaya and meron ding time na magseryoso. So, that's a vocational guidance. Next is the social guidance. Students sometimes may face problems in adjustment and social relationships. So it is very important that the students to be helped in acquiring and feeling of security and being accepted by the group. So in developing social relationships and in becoming tolerant towards others. So in social guidance naman po, so tinutulungan naman nila yung mga students na for example, yung transferee student. So, tinutulungan nila yung transferee student na maka-adjust doon sa bagong school na nilipatan niya. In social guidance, nag-give sila ng advices para maka-adjust agad yung bata dun sa school na nilipatan niya. And how is she or he going to socialize with the other students? That's in the social guidance. Next, in the moral guidance. So, moral values occupy an important place in our life. Sometimes, due to influence of diverse factors, students tell lies and indulge in undesirable practices. So, moral guidance helps in bringing the students into proper track and help in their all-round development. So, if may problema naman yung mga students natin that our students always tell lies and mayroon na silang mga ginagawang mga hindi magagandang bagay. So, just like, for example na lang, yung mga students natin ay nakikipag-away, nadadala sila into drugs. Ayan, so mayroon pong mga ganyan. So, dito tayo sa moral guidance. Dito tayo pupunta, dito tayo makapapasok. Opo, if our student is like this one. Next is the health guidance. So health is regarded as the wealth. So health is wealth. Opo. So if we have problems in our health, so dito tayo naman papasok sa health guidance. Ayan, so yung mga doctors, sila yung mga nakakaalam about the health guidance. Yung mga psychologists, the nurses, and many more. So, dito po yung pumapasok sa health guidance. If we like to be healthy. Next is the leisure time guidance. So, guidance for leisure is basically a part of personal guidance. So, the individual should know how to utilize his or her leisure time fruitfully. Ayan. So, in here naman po, dito naman pumapasok yung mga taong kailangan malaman or how are they going to utilize their time? So, sabi ko nga po kanina, so meron lang time para magsaya and meron lang time to be productive in life. So, dito yan papasok po sa leisure time guidance. So, those are the areas of guidance in global context. So, I hope you learned something about my discussion about understanding the individual, self-understanding, and guidance. So, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you learned something. Goodbye, everyone!